have 9 a.m.
Good morning, everyone. It's 9 a.m., so we'll begin the Cudahy County weekly meeting. We're going to start out a little bit different. We're going to start a new tradition. It's kind of ironic at the end of our meeting last week, our Veteran Service Officer said, you know, it'd be nice if we opened our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I've been thinking about that. I think it's probably the turmoil and the things that are going on in our country now that had me thinking about it. And if you remember, our Commissioner Gable was at the meeting via telephone last week. And at the tail end of his telephone conversation, he mentioned something to that. So great minds must all think the same.
That's suggested to me. He told me before.
Oh.
So it was good. It
Oh,
was good.
well, called you.
Same source.
But I've been thinking about it.
Anyway, so I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to all stand and face the flag, and the appropriate procedure is to remove your hat, cap, and put your right hand over your heart. I understand that if you're an active military personnel or if you're a veteran, you can salute the flag. And I had asked Al to come up and lead us, but Al hasn't showed up yet, so I'll substitute for Al. So I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Play ball. I thought that was always part of the pledge of allegiance, is play ball. Well, thank you. Let's hope that that's going to be a long-standing tradition, something that we probably should have been doing for a long time, and I'm not so sure why. I guess just because it hadn't been done that we didn't do it before today. So that will be the way we will begin our meetings from this point forward. That being said, a couple of housekeeping things. If you have a cell phone, please silence it or turn it off. And if you do get a phone call, here's Al. We're done.
We started without you.
But look at that flag that guy has on it. Al Jansen, our Veteran Service Officer. We got through we all knew it, so we did all right.
Very good. I very appreciate it.
Thank you for coming up anyway, Al. Next week you're on the agenda, okay?
All right.
All right. We're not going to let you off the hook. We'll see if we did it right. If you have a cell phone, like I said, please silence it or turn it off. And if you do get a call that you need to take, please step out into the rotunda area so you don't disrupt those who are speaking. Also, this meeting is being streamed live, so if you want to address the board, and you're certainly welcome to address the board, you will probably be streamed live, so you will be on World Wide Web, right? Or whatever. Anyway, I don't know what our listening numbers are. I have no idea.
There's one besides me watching.
One beside me. One beside Lee right now.
And that would be me.
But maybe by the end of the meeting we may have a couple more. Anyway.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda.
We have a motion to approve the agenda. We have a second by Gable and a motion by Commissioner Hatton. Any discussion? Any changes in the agenda that anyone sees? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Action to approve the minutes.
Move to approve is emailed.
Second.
October 3rd, we have a motion by Hatton, second by Van Dusen. Any changes? Anything that you see on the minutes that you would like to see changed or don't agree with? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, the number 4 item on here is an update from Bob Stout, South Dakota Department of Agriculture Department.
Ben.
Excuse me, Ben, who did I say?
Bob.
Bob. I introduced myself earlier, it's Ben. Ben is right here. Step up here, Ben, and share with us what you have for us, okay?
I got some handouts for you guys, but if anyone in the audience wants one too, I have some extras. Me and
Okay.
pass them around.
Thank
Just
you.
sit up here. Is that
Yes,
Now
please.
there's a microphone.
And there's a microphone. Please introduce yourself again so the press will get your name. Not Bob, but it's Ben.
Thank you. It's on. Is it on? Yep. Okay. Thanks for having me. Ben Stout, South Dakota Department of Ag. Live and work in Brookings, South Dakota. A little bit about me. Grew up on a small farm in western South Dakota. Small cattle ranch. Still have a few cows out there. Spend some time there, but obviously spending most of my time on the eastern part of the state. Working for the Department of Agriculture and Economic Development. So what I have today for the group is I've actually given a similar presentation to other county commissions and planning and zoning groups, probably about 10 or 12 times in the last month, I suppose. So I've been getting around to several different counties in South Dakota and just giving an update on what some of these livestock development projects in particular can mean to local counties. There's a lot of talk, a lot of newspaper articles, a lot of information and a lot of misinformation about what these things actually mean for the county. So I just want to get around to a number of different groups and give some facts, especially when there's not a project on the docket, a controversial project. So what I've been doing, and this has went over fairly well in several other areas, I've been comparing a county in South Dakota to a county in Minnesota and a county in Iowa. Now the counties that I typically use in the peer states are Sioux County, Iowa, and Kandiyohi County, Minnesota. The reason for that, Sioux County is considered by many to be kind of the livestock headquarters of the United States. There's more pigs in Sioux County than there are in the entire state of South Dakota. They also have a vibrant poultry industry, a lot of dairy cows, a lot of beef cows. Kandiyohi County would be Wilmer, Minnesota. I'm sure y'all are familiar with where Wilmer's at, central Minnesota. That's the headquarters of Jennie-O Turkey, but they also have a lot of other livestock as well. So just going through this chart on the first page, and again, I guess maybe I should mention all this information, it's public data. It either comes from the United States Department of Agriculture, the U.S. Census Bureau, public universities, or there are a couple newspaper articles linked. I have all the links, all the information referenced on the back page, so if you have more questions, you can look up those links as well. So just going through this chart on the front page, so you can see I have a couple different sections here. Kind of that orangish section talks about some general county statistics. So you can see that Cottington County is similar size-wise compared to Sioux County and Kandiyohi County. Population is also fairly close, although there are a few less people in Cottington County. 28,063 residents in 2016 compared to just under 35,000 in Sioux County, Iowa, and just over 42,000 in Kandiyohi County. So really these counties are pretty similar, both size-wise, geographically, and population-wise. The yellow section, what that denotes, basically there's a lot of production here. These are 2012 numbers. That's when the most recent USDA Ag Census was conducted. They're actually doing another one this year, so I'll go through and update the numbers once I have the updated stats available. But for now, 2012 is the most recent information we have. So basically, the yellow shows that there's a lot of grain production, the inputs for livestock projects. So then when we get down to the blue section, this is actually 2012 numbers for livestock in each county. And you can see in Cottington County, there's actually quite a bit less livestock than these other two counties listed across the board. Now, one of the questions I get in some of the other places that I go is how come you don't have poultry listed or one of the other species listed? You can see there's a couple asterisks there. What that means is there were only a handful of operations that reported data to the USDA, and if they don't meet a certain threshold for how many operations report, they don't actually distribute that information publicly. So they basically have to sign off so they're not sending out public or private information to the public through reports. Where the rubber hits the road for this and why I think it's important to county commissioners, planning and zoning officials, and other folks in the community, you take a look in Cottington County, the number of farms is quite a bit less than Sioux County and Kandiyohi County. The average farm size is quite a bit larger, but then crop sales and livestock sales are quite a bit lower as well. So really less revenue, fewer farmers, larger farm size. There's probably opportunity for more livestock development here to keep some of that money in the county, to keep it recirculating. People say that corn is king in Iowa, but in 2012 in Sioux County, there were four times as many dollars sold in livestock as there were in corn. So that's kind of interesting to think about. So again, a lot of data in that chart, but just some information I wanted to share with you. Moving along to that second page. This chart, or these charts, I guess, show the record high totals for South Dakota in the different livestock sectors compared to where we're at today, as far as number of each species in the state. In 1934, we had 675,000 dairy cows in the state. Today, we have 115,000. So that's kind of interesting to think about. We actually have more milk today than we produced in 1934. But if you think about what was going on in the ag world in 1934, Dust Bowl, average corn yield in Brookings County that year was 6 bushel per acre. Last year was 171 bushels an acre in Brookings County. And that's just the one that I use because I live there, obviously. But way more feed now than ever before, way fewer livestock now than ever before. So that's kind of interesting to think about. Probably room for growth. Might be one economic development opportunity for a local community. And it's really across the board. I mentioned dairy cattle, but you can see pretty much every species there were more population several years ago than there are today. We'll flip to that third page and I'll go through a couple more statistics. Again, where the rubber hits the road with this, some economic impact information. Why do we want these things in our county? Well, there are several studies out there that show that dairy cattle, you can basically count on close to $30,000 per year per cow economic impact. Now, most of that impact will come within a local, say, 50-mile radius because that's where the feed is purchased, that's where the milk is processed. Obviously, employees are getting paid and spending money in local communities. But there are several different studies that show that. The two that I highlighted in this document are from the Minnesota Department of Agriculture and the University of Wisconsin. There's also an SDSU study that shows pretty close to the same number. So basically $30,000 per cow per year for dairy. Beef, there's a pretty good economic impact there as well. Basically 2 to 1. For every $1 the beef industry spends, $2 are turned over in the local community. Swine, $2,500 per sow per year. Then one of the things that you always hear about from folks who maybe aren't favorable to these types of projects, newer facilities are larger in scale, and that's kind of the trend that the industry has went to. Like it or not, that's kind of the way that things are going. But one of the things that you hear people talk about are property values. One of the most cited university studies that I found analyzed 14 different studies. It found that 7 of those studies said that property values, when they're placed next to a CAFO, will go down. 6 of those studies found that there were the property values could either go up or down depending on how it was managed, and 1 found that there's no change. So out of the 14, you have 7 that say they go down, 6 that say they could go up or down, and 1 that says no change. So it really depends on how these things are managed, who's operating them, how they're run. That's where the property value comes into play. Another thing that you hear people talk about when it comes to modern, larger facilities is negative health impacts. One thing that I found, there's a newspaper article, again linked below, but it talked about Sioux County's health rankings. There's a big health study out there that analyzes 3,000 counties in all 50 U.S. states, including all 99 counties in Iowa. Sioux County last year was ranked the healthiest county in Iowa. So again, more livestock in that county than basically anywhere else in the U.S., and it's also the healthiest county out of 99 counties in the state. What's measured in that? Well, there are like 30 different health factors, and again, that link is included below if you want to look at that report. But diabetes, heart disease, basically all these things that we think about that make healthy people are analyzed in that survey. So that's something that's interesting to think about. Kandiyohi County, again, big livestock county. Jennie-O Turkey's headquarters are in Wilmar. 60% of the adults in that county have attended college. So 40,000 residents, 60% have attended college. So these are smart people. These are good jobs, good things for the community when they're done right. I know people have a lot of questions about these, and it's really interesting to think about how the industry's changed, but one thing to keep in mind is that, comparing the 1934 numbers to today for dairy cows, in 1934, no one was regulating the environment. There was no DENR, no EPA, and we had 6 times as many cows in the state as we do today. So that's something that's interesting to think about. There are a lot of things that we can do today to mitigate some of the risks of the larger facilities. A lot of technology out there that's available. And from what I've found, I go to a lot of national, international, regional trade shows, work with dozens of different companies who are interested in doing business in the state, interested in investing in our rural areas. These folks are willing to adapt the technology. We just have to give them an opportunity to come and do business here. So, again, a lot of data here. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have it. One more thing I would like to mention too. If you guys or anyone would like to see some of these modern facilities, see what a new hog barn looks like, see what a new dairy looks like, there are tons of great examples around in the local area. Dairies are pretty easy to get into. Actually, in the month of June and July, there's basically an open house every Saturday at a dairy farm in the area. But we can get in a dairy anytime you want. Contact information is listed at the top of that sheet. Give me a call if you want to have a tour. We can set that up. Swine and poultry are a little bit harder to get into, but SDSU just built a new swine research facility, and part of that facility was designed for tours, specifically for tours. Interestingly enough, that facility is a half-mile northwest of the new football stadium. So they built a new hog barn a half-mile away from where there's going to be 20,000 people watching a football game this weekend. Again, that's a sign of the technology. They have biofilters there to regulate the smell on the manure. You wouldn't even know that you're pulling up to a hog barn when you drive up to it. So, lots of information, lots of data here. Basically, I just want to come and give a quick presentation to you, let you know that I'm here to be a resource if you guys have questions. I will be getting around to the different planning and zoning commissions as well, so looking forward to those conversations too. So.
Thank you, Ben. Does anyone have any questions for Ben? Any comments? We will share this. You have our contact information with our planning and zoning director,
Yeah,
Luke.
Yep. And I work with Luke pretty closely.
Yeah,
So.
and it'd be good. This would be good to share with our planning and zoning committee, and I'd appreciate you doing that. But you hit the nail right on the head. And Brenda and I sit on the planning and zoning committee, and we see the numbers, we see the issues that are out there firsthand, and I find that a lot of these larger operations are a lot better controlled than some of the smaller operations when it comes to environmental effects. And there's a lot of people that don't agree with me on that point. I'll argue that. And we've met with a lot of resistance with some of the CAFOs in our community, and this is good information. Thank you for sharing.
Just a quick question, if I may, Mr. Chairman. I used to live in Candy, Ohio County. Been following the turkey thing for years and years and years. Has the technology gotten better than what it used to be? Because there used to be places that you'd roll up your window and hurry up to get by.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I was referencing with the new swine unit at SDSU. They built it a half-mile away from the football stadium. So biofilters, covered lagoons, enclosed manure structures, there's a lot of things that people are doing better now than they were in the past. And honestly, a lot of that came from learning from our mistakes with some of these other places too, as an industry. So.
And then going back to the figures back in the 30s to now with the number of cattle and stuff and the lack of environmental regulations, was dilution the solution back then?
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately.
All right, thank you, Ben. We have our local radio station here, and we have our newspaper sitting over here behind you, so maybe if they have any questions, I'll point them out to you so you know who they are. All
Yeah,
right?
I'm happy to talk to anyone about this. The Brookings Register did a story on a similar presentation that I gave in Brookings County, so
Good information.
chat with anyone. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Ben.
Ben.
Ben, do you have can you just email your report to Cindy, and then we can get a copy? So. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a good day. All right, let's go on to number 5, discussion with State's Attorney Becky Morlock-Reeves regarding distribution of the Juvenile Justice Reinvestment Initiative funds, action to approve an automatic supplement to the State's Attorney budget with the JJRI funds and to authorize payment of the funds. All right, from the get-go, what would you be, Becky, what would you prefer to be called?
Becky is fine.
Becky is fine. We always called Patrick, and so just to clarify that, so I don't call you Brian or Ben or Bob or something else, just to clarify that. All right, Becky. So share with us what you have.
Well, our office received $5,750 in juvenile justice reinvestment funds from the state. Those are needing to be distributed. Due to the program, there's some limitations as to where they can go. And our office is recommending, I guess I spoke with Mr. McCann about it before he left, that those funds go to the Boys and Girls Club for their teen court program. We do have Liz, Lewis, and Kyle here that would be able to give you guys a little more information, I think, about the teen court program and what the funds would be used for in that program. So I think
Just a little history on this. Back in December, this board did take action. We noted that we received $5,750. And this board did take action to authorize the state's attorney to disperse the state grant funds to local juvenile diversion programs as allowed by SB 73. So that was the first step to allot these funds.
All right, so would you, one of you, or all of you, or whoever wish to come forward? I'll tell you, before we even get going on this in the get-go, I've heard nothing but good things about teen court, just to set the stage here. And maybe it came from Patrick, the state's attorney, or where it came from, it doesn't matter, but it's a program, according to what I have heard, that has just been very, very good. And it's really been a very, very helpful tool in our juvenile, as far as the juveniles that we end up incarcerating. And that's been a godsend. We don't, we wish to continue whatever you're doing well. So share with us exactly what it is.
Yeah, so Teen Court, obviously, it's a juvenile. Names, please. Yep, my name's Kyle Teen, and this is Lewis Canfield.
I'm Lewis Canfield.
Thank you. And so Teen Court, again, is a juvenile diversion program, obviously through the state's attorney's office here. And they send us cases to the Boys and Girls Club. And we take those cases and we hold a mock trial, if you will, with the defendants. That they sit in front of a jury of their peers. A lot of the peers actually are Boys and Girls Club members. Some are actually volunteers from the high school in different organizations throughout the county, but it is really neat to see our Boys and Girls Club members also getting involved in that. Some of them come in and they just are able to experience and see what it's like to be inside of a courtroom, just as a volunteer, not even getting into trouble for anything. Also, though, on the defendant side, they're able to see what it's like. They sit in the courtroom, they have an active attorney in Connington County come in and listen to the case as well. Again, it's our peers that ultimately make the decision of what they have for a sentence and their guidelines and things, and that consists of community service, community action points. We try to, get the individuals involved in the things that they're already involved in a very positive way. So we call that community action. Like I said, community service, and then we have them write essays. A lot of the times these young individuals are already heading down the wrong direction. So one of the essays that we always make sure that they do is they write an essay on the effects of alcohol on youth, for the potential that might come up in the future. There are apology letters and even restitution if it's needed. So that is what we do.
Thank you. You have to write an essay. I think that'd be worse punishment than being incarcerated for me. So I can understand that, and I can follow up on that. I had a couple years ago. We were burglarized. That's hard for me to say today, but anyway, I did get a letter of apology from the individual that had broken into our shed and stole some gasoline. Could have taken a lot of more valuable stuff, but he needed gas, I guess. But then I did get a letter of apology, and I appreciated that. And, you know, it probably was painful for him to write it, but it was very much appreciated for me. Go ahead.
I was just going to add to that's one of the things that surprises me the most is the apology, a live apology in front of their peers and in front of the parent. And it's very difficult. You get some very sincere apologies, and you can really tell that these kids are learning from their mistakes. So I just want to touch briefly on the funding side of things. We really want to keep Teen Court as much as we can. You know, it's a program. Obviously, it costs money to have somebody come in and run these programs, and we've lost some funding. We had a $21,000 grant through the Teen Court Association, paid over 2 years, and that is now over. There's no future funding in sight. There's hope, but there's nothing solidified in sight. That's why if you guys would approve this for us, this would help us at least plan for the future of Teen Court for the short term. We are very excited. We have since in the last couple of weeks hired a new Teen Court coordinator. Her name is Angela Hyde, and she's out of Sioux Falls. She ran their program, and she's done some very, very good things. She went from 0 volunteer judges to 14 in just a short time. So very involved in the program, and the future is bright as long as we can secure some funding for the program.
All right, board, you've heard their requests. I will entertain a motion to make it happen. And how should this motion,
First, we need a motion to approve an automatic supplement to the state's attorney's budget so that we can disperse the funds from that budget.
I'll make that.
Lee, a motion by Commissioner Gable, second by Van Dusen. Any discussion?
And those funds are in the amount of $5,750.
So just to clarify, so people understand, this is from SB 73 of 2014 or 15? 16. Okay, so with the Juvenile Justice Initiative, when the county does diversion programs, you get money from the state, essentially. And our diversion program is primarily the Teen Court. So, and is that on a case-by-case? Is that based on the number of cases that actually get diverted, or
The dollar amount you're talking
the dollar
about.
amount? Yeah, the dollar amount. Yeah.
I have a whole file here.
Well, I think it is. Yeah. Okay.
You can read the file after the meeting. Okay.
Guess I'm not worried about it. So.
All right, you heard the motion, and there's a motion and a second on the floor. Any more discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, then
And
you
then
need
a
a
motion,
supplemental motion.
motion to authorize the funds to be paid out to, and is it just the Boys and Girls Club, or is it the Teen Court? Okay.
Well, I think. Can we make a motion to the Boys and Girls Club for the purposes of Teen Court?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that your motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Second
motion
that.
by Gable, second by Hanton. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thank you, folks, and keep up the good work. We appreciate it very much. This is one organization that I feel very good about supporting. All right, Becky, you want some help the way it looks. Authorization for the state's attorney to advertise and hire a deputy state's attorney.
Yes.
What happened to the deputy state's attorney that we had?
Well,
Here
got
you
a
are.
promotion.
Yeah, here she is.
Good.
So yes, I am looking for permission to advertise for a full-time deputy state's attorney. Did talk with Terry Satterley about it. Proposed salary range would be according to the attachment H. The annual salary would be $53,828.64 to a high of $65,082.96. We would be opening it up today with a closing date of November 30th, so just about 30 days. Hopeful that there's somebody out there looking.
And that's not, we don't go through the local employment office, right? You go through the Bar Association, or?
well, what Terry and I discussed, he will put it out on
Okay.
on the Department of
He will,
Labor
okay.
site. We'll do that. I am also going to contact the State Bar.
Okay.
They've got an employment listing there, and the law school.
Okay.
Kind of the two places where people are going to go look.
All right, Commissioners, you've heard the
Make that
request.
motion that we
We have a
authorize.
motion by Hanton.
Second.
Second by Van Dusen. Any discussion? Charlie, you had a question? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
Congratulations on your new position.
Yes.
All right,
You can give that back to me when.
number 7 on the agenda is a conversation with David Lau, Dakota Range Wind, update on the project. Yes.
Hi, everyone. Good to
Wait.
see you all again.
Take the mic and introduce yourself so the radio will know who we got speaking here.
Hi, I'm Mark Mauersberger. I'm the Senior Development Manager for the Dakota Range Wind Farm, which we hope to be building in the very near future.
And Mark, you live in Summit?
Actually, Dave lives in Watertown. I live in St. Michael, Minnesota.
Oh, you live in St. Michael?
Yeah.
All right, good. At least you got a South Dakotan with you, so.
Absolutely.
Keep you
Yeah,
straight.
I came legitimate. And that speech from or the presentation from the Boys and Girls Club was pretty inspirational. We'll be donating to them as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially, I'm sure many of you have seen the updates in the press about the deal that we struck with XL for 300 megawatts. And I wanted to answer any questions you may have and give a brief presentation about the deal and see if you had any follow-up questions regarding that. Okay, can you pass out the article that came out in the local paper?
Did all of you get a chance to read that article? By the way, it was a good article. I thought it was very, very well done.
And what Dave's passing out is the initial article. There was a follow-up article, which I'll also mention during this brief presentation. And thank you.
Thanks.
Be sure the paper gets a copy of this. So you know what we're referring to.
We can make some extra copies if you need them. I will have some more
We'll
copies.
get you some copies now.
All right, go ahead, shoot.
All right, wonderful. Okay, so as you may recall, we came here last February to announce we were pushing towards a permit. We gave a pre-permitting presentation, and then we submitted our permit application for review last spring. We then gratefully received our CUP permit in June, and I also wanted to, we talked about the article that Dave passed out. I also wanted to address a recent article that came out October 7th. It was a very good article. It talked about opposition. One of the things I wanted to mention to you folks, and I think we talked about it during our permitting presentation, we take pride in our local outreach. We talked about our outreach with the town and Punish Women Lake Association and so on and so forth. Engagement with groups, large and small, kitchen tables, you name it. And the reason why I wanted to mention that is because the article, although very well written, slightly infers that we're kind of spiking the football about no opposition. We're grateful that there's not any significant opposition, but that's by design, by our constant outreach and our constant work within the community. So I wanted to sort of make that clear that we're very appreciative that the community is supportive of the project, and we're going to address concerns where they come up either now or in the future, so just as we've done in the past. And it also talked about the exact placement of the towers has not been decided. We're working on that right now. Excel is reviewing our layout. Not much has changed since our presentation regarding the layout, but they're going to be doing geotech, checking to make sure the subsoil conditions are sound for placing towers. We're also doing cultural studies. We're working with the tribe to make sure that we're not impacting any areas of cultural sensitivity, and working with SWO. As a matter of fact, we're meeting with SWO today, and we've hired Jerry Vermel. I don't know if you guys know who Jerry is. He was the gentleman that helped develop the Big Stone to Allendale line, and he's kind of quasi-retired, but we brought him onto the team because he has a very solid relationship with SHPO and also with the tribe. So we thought that he would be a good addition to the team because they trust him, they know him, and they're used to working with him. We also are going to have at that meeting today Patrick Flowers. He's the does the environmental and cultural issues. He handles those for Xcel Energy, and he also has a very good relationship with the tribe and the state as well. So he's going to help us work through that relationship and hopefully strengthen some bonds with the tribe and move things forward so that we don't impact any areas of cultural sensitivity. We're here today to check in with the county to see if you had any questions about the project. Additionally, we prepared a form support letter for the county's review. Can you pass that out? Okay, pass that out. This is merely a draft that is typical of support letters we've received in the past, and it's just a guide. We appreciate a similar support letter from Cottington County, as that's been requested from us by Xcel. We've received a support letter from Grant County, and we're coming before you all to ask for the same thing. As we continue to work on this project, as I mentioned in our original presentations all the way up to our CUP permit, we're not going to be expanding the area footprint that we have for Cottington. Basically what we have submitted to you will be that amount or less, most likely, and the areas of expansion will be further north into Roberts County. So we've given a pre-presentation meeting with them, and we're going to do all the same things we've done in Cottington and Grant, community outreach, engagement with the tribe, so on and so forth. That area is going to be a little bit more complex because we have a lot of grasslands up there. So we're going to be doing a federal permit, a NEPA permit up there, and a deeper engagement with the tribe. And that's why forming a solid relationship with them is so important. Does anyone have any questions about the support letter or about the project itself?
What are we looking at in terms of an economic benefit to Cottington County if this project does go through?
I can get you those numbers. We supplied those numbers in our PowerPoint presentation. There's as you know, South Dakota has a nameplate capacity tax, and that filters down to the county and then subsequently to the municipalities. I can definitely get you those numbers.
Okay.
Yeah. Until we know the exact tower placements and how many will ultimately be in Cottington, it's difficult to know because that's hinged upon the amount of towers that will be placed.
What's the distribution of those revenues? I know the school district gets a portion of them. They get the first cut, right?
Yeah, there's a new law that was passed shortly after I came onto the team. What was it? Almost 2 years ago, correct? Yeah. And the local area in the past had received a large lion's share of the benefits, and the new law has changed that in that my understanding of it is they received the benefit of it for about 5 years, and then that becomes distributed throughout the state as a shared revenue. But the specifics, we could definitely get you those specifics when we pass along our projected economic benefit. But it mentions some of the impacts in the article that I think are important.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Absolutely.
For
We'll
those-
also recirculate the PowerPoint presentation from our permitting meeting. I'm not sure if you all had gotten an opportunity to see it, but that has a lot of good information on the project as well.
Those of you that didn't have an opportunity to attend the public meeting that this team put on for us at our Planning and Zoning Board meeting, they did an excellent job. They did their homework. As I say many times, and you are tired of hearing this, but they had their T's crossed and their I's dotted when they come in, and we really appreciated that. There was very, very little opposition. I think we had 2 people all that spoke, and they weren't really in opposition. They just felt they weren't informed as well as they thought they should have been, and I know differently. I know that they had been informed, and of course one was concerned with the flyway, I think was one of the other issues, but you handled it very professionally, and everybody walked away, I think, with a good feeling. We appreciate that.
Well, and Milo, and I think you hit the nail on the head in the newspaper article here the other day that said that going above and beyond as far as reaching out to these people and making sure that everyone's aware of the project and listening to people, and I think that's key to having a successful project like this, and you're doing that. So we do appreciate that.
I appreciate
We hear that.
too. And we'd like to practice the golden rule, do unto others. And, if I was a landowner in the area, I'd want to know what's going on in the project, even if I wasn't directly impacted by it. So community meetings are key. A lot of folks in the industry like to have meetings geared towards who they're targeting, their target group of landowners within that target footprint. But, you know, the project impacts others beyond that footprint. So it's good to sort of inform folks. There's a lot of misinformation out there, as I think everyone knows, especially if someone gets on the internet and starts surfing around, it can get pretty tricky. So we want to make sure that we're involved, reassuring folks that this is a good thing for the community and addressing any concerns they may have.
So really what we're talking about now is Dakota Range 3 and 4. Dakota Range 1 was the 48 towers, right? Is that correct?
It's approximate. It's less than 50, of course.
Yeah.
And that is what we submitted for our CUP permit. Like I said, they're going to be doing geotech, and Excel is going to have some say-so regarding what the ultimate machine we're going to use is, because they have preferred machines within their fleet. It looks like Vestas is the machine of choice that they're going to want to use. And so we're basically they're reviewing our layout right now. As you know, we just put the deal together a couple weeks ago. So they have a review period where they're kind of reviewing the layout and our additional supplement locations, which we talked about during our CUP presentation. In case we run into details or issues, rather, they can move things around within that footprint. And so what we're trying to do is get their feedback, and then once we have their feedback, we intend on filing for our state permit, which is a PUC permit, and we're hoping to do that in November. And then we'll have a community hearing, which will be hosted by the state. And much like, I don't know if any of you attended the Clark County meeting, but they had one in Clark County for Geronimo's project. So they'll referee the meeting. Folks will be able to give public commentary, so on and so forth, and we'll give a presentation. It's not a interactive process. It's like we give our presentation, and then folks that are for will speak, and folks that are against will speak, and then they'll adjourn and issue the permit based on the merits of the commentary and the weight of the project and how it's positive to the state, economic benefits, and all that good stuff.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, just
Go ahead.
a couple questions. So when will we be looking at seeing the first towers erected?
That's a good question. We were anticipating, and we've always represented, we were looking sort of in the 2020 timeframe, and that was linked to the completion of the Big Stone Ellendale line, which has always been published as a 2019 third quarter interconnect, meaning we can jump onto that line about that time. We've subsequently engaged with Otter Tail on many occasions to see if we can get the energized early, because as you all have seen, our portion of the line where it runs through our project footprint is already completed. And so we were like, hey, look, it's already done. It's not unprecedented in the industry where you would energize a portion of a line. And through our subsequent discussions with them, we thought it better that we kind of wait until it was fully energized, because engineers within our company and engineers within Otter Tail, they were sort of had a little bit of indigestion about doing that, and we felt comfortable with it regarding our timeframes anyway. And so when Excel came into the picture, they have, I'm sure you guys have seen, it's very well publicized, they're taking on a ton of wind. And so we're kind of in the tail end of their acquisition. We're one of the last projects that they're absorbing in this latest tranche of wind. I'm confident they're going to do more based on some of their press releases and talking to some of the folks in the industry. But as far as this big tranche, we're kind of in that. So even though they won't receive the full tax benefit of the production tax credit, because it sort of gets watered down over time, they want to energize this in 2021. So it's driven by them as their time frame. So the first sort of stage gate or time frame thing we have to meet is the completion of the line, and they're saying the end of 19. So we can't build it in the winter. So we're looking 2020, probably civil, and energizing it in 2021.
Okay. And
But
then,
it'll be a good boon for, like I said, local jobs. And we've been getting a lot of contacts from local contractors, and we're engaging with them. We're sending out requests for proposals and that type of thing to try to maximize the economic benefit locally.
and the other thing you just mentioned, the production tax credits. Can you just refresh our memory on how that works?
Yeah, I'll send you a sort of a snippet of how it works and how it de-escalates. But essentially, what happens is the first year it's within that first tranche of the 5 years of the tax credit, that first year, because it's a 5-year horizon, the first year it's 100%, and you can designate it and lock in that 100% tax credit by safe harboring turbines, buying transformers, these types of things, to sort of get your spot in line and get 100% of that credit. And every other year it declines, it sort of sunsets, 20% per year. So after you lock it in for the first year, it's 100, then it goes down to 80 and 60 until it sunsets. I'll send you guys information with the packet I'm going to send you, but it's usually absorbed within the first several years of the project, and maximized benefit sunsets before the lifetime of the project ends. The good news is that Xcel Energy felt confident enough that our energy price was so attractive that even with a diminished non-100% PTC benefit, they still thought it was a good buy, which I think says a lot about the good wind you all have out here.
Good wind.
Good wind,
And a lot of it, huh?
Good wind, yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions for these gentlemen? Could you get us a copy of the letter of support from Grant County?
Absolutely. I'll get you a copy of Dave will send you a copy of the letter of support, as well as a Word version of that. Like I said, it's just a draft letter.
Sure.
Feel free to put it in your own words. You're just trying to hit all the key points that
That's right.
traditionally are seen in these types of letters,
Yeah.
instead of making something out of whole cloth, which sometimes is difficult.
Why recreate the wheel, right?
Mark, if anybody has any questions, how do they go about getting a hold of you or contacting you?
That's a good question. We have an office in Summit, and we have a lot of landowners that use that as their local clubhouse. They come in there and hang out with us, which we enjoy. We love hanging out with them as well. But we also have a project website, Dakota Range website. If you just Google Dakota Range, it'll come up as one of the first prompts. And then also, I'm very easy to get a hold of as well. That will hyperlink to me, and if anyone calls you, I can pass out a bunch of cards before I leave, and you can forward my information to them as well. And I'm very easy to get a hold of. I pick up the phone to my family chagrin in the evening, on the weekends. I get calls all the time, which is fine.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
What I will need now, though, is a motion from the board to, first off, write the letter of support, and then we'll need board action and the authority to put it on the agenda at a later date.
So we don't really need motion right now. As soon as we have the letter of support, I'll put it on the agenda.
All right.
Okay?
Okay?
So there's no action at this time.
So we know where we're at on that. Okay? Any other questions before these gentlemen
No, thanks.
leave? All right, thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate
very much.
Thank
appreciate
you.
the information. All right, number 8, action to approve a plat resolution for the Nelson addition in Henry Township.
Luke had to be in Madison this morning. He gave me a little bit of background. This is a farmstead exemption recommended by the Planning Commission. It's in the southeast quarter of Section 22, Township 116 North, Range 55 West. Maybe some of you are familiar with it from a previous planning and zoning meeting. He said there's nothing out of the ordinary on this, and that the planning and zoning do recommend approval of the
We
plan.
did,
I'll make that motion to
We did
approve that
approve it.
plat.
Second.
We have a motion by Hatton, second by Waterman. Any discussion?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, Cindy, can you just say where that is again?
Section, southeast quarter of Section 22 in Henry Township.
It was nothing out of the ordinary.
Lee, I emailed you, I sent you an email, sorry, of some things if you wanted to put them on there.
Okay.
Luke
I can
just,
see where
Luke
it
sent
is.
them to me just as we were
Oh, okay.
sitting here. So there are a couple of attachments if you want to.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
I think Lee might have a couple of pictures.
Okay.
I'm okay with it. I consider it.
Okay, all
All
right.
right. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Yep, I should have passed you a note.
Are you good to go, Lee?
Good.
All right. Monthly reports. Auditor.
We are really getting into our levies right now. We've got some of the school levies prepared for taxes payable in 2018, working with the other counties who have school districts that overlap into our county. Part of Watertown is in Day County, part of it is in Grant County. So we need to work with those auditors to make sure we all have the same school levy. The auditors in the back office are keeping us very busy pulling documents and vouchers so they can test our data. And then at the end of this week, on Friday, I'll have a representative from Election Systems and Software who will be doing the programming for my new election equipment. And then I will be hosting a regional meeting on Monday, October 23rd, for a couple of counties who also have the same scanner that I purchased for counting ballots. This is a money-saving thing because they do charge us for these trainings, and this way 3 counties can share in the cost of the training. So that's what we're doing right now.
And one way to really learn a system is to teach it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
All hands, everybody gets to play with the machine.
Coming from an old school teacher. If you need to learn it, teach it.
Yep.
All right, Director Equalization, Shauna. How are you this morning, Shauna?
I'm here.
Good.
Good morning.
Morning, Shauna.
Morning.
The appraisers are finishing up their small town reappraisal. We are done with all the first tags in all the small towns. They're working on a couple second tags in Florence. And then they will be starting the building permits in the small town, and then they will be finished with all of their field work, and then starting building permits probably towards the end of the month, beginning of next month, throughout the county and Watertown. Next week, the appraisers and I will be in Pier for school. Very excited about that. And then the office staff is working on the October sales. We're getting wetland applications, tax exempt applications, all the different things that are due prior to November 1. And then we will be working on what adjustments and things will be happening with the 2018 assessments, and working on getting our notices out by March 1st.
What do you mean by first tag and second tag?
We always leave 2 tags. If no one's home, basically our process is we go out, we knock on the door. If nobody's home, we leave a tag. We measure the outside, take the outside pictures. If they don't get back to us, we will go back about 2 weeks later, tag them again. And then if we don't hear anything, then we work it up to the best of our abilities to do so.
How are you handling, and I don't even know what the term is, but the setbacks on the waterways and remember that's going to be some tax exempt property, that the farmers can apply for to get
The buffer
a boundary,
strips?
buffer strips.
I have, I think, 3 or 4 applications sitting on my desk now. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't really dug into them yet, but we have, the Department of Revenue is basically giving us direction on how to do them. Basically, you just measure the soils, and then you give an adjustment to those soil types.
But what's the procedure for the producer out there?
They basically just come in and fill out an application. Most of them, they'd be getting them online and then just sending them in or dropping them off. But there are maps out there for us that show which rivers qualify. And so the first step for us is to make sure that it's on a qualifying one, and then we'll go from there.
And do you all know what we're talking about here? Those buffer strip. And what is the reduction in the taxes on that? Is it?
I think it's supposed to be 40% of the assessment on those soil types. So it's all going to come down to whatever those soil types are currently.
Sure. Good.
Are you seeing a decrease in the wetland applications?
Yes, so far, but a lot of them come in when they come to pay their October taxes. So I'm sure we'll get quite a few in these next few weeks. So.
Okay. Any more questions for Shauna? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Shauna.
Health.
I laid a report.
We have a representative here.
Yep,
to-
and I laid a
Share with
report
us.
on your desks, which Ann will review.
And you need one? You have one? No, I got it. You got your own. I just thought maybe you wanted one, so you,
No, I'm good. It's much shorter.
oh,
I'm sorry.
Ann Creasy. All right, so this is July, August, and September. July and August are pretty quiet months for us. September kind of kicks it in gear, and now we'll be busy until the first of the year. We went shorter on the reports, and I guess I'm looking for feedback if you guys like our two-page one or what you're really looking for. That's something that we just went through with our regional meeting, is just to see if there's anything really specific you guys are looking for, if we're giving you what you want. So that was kind of one of my questions.
well, I do know one thing, you can bury us with information,
I know.
and we don't need that. I think,
So-
I think this is sufficient for
Okay.
us. Any comments from the rest of you?
I actually like the layout of this.
Okay,
It's easy to read,
That's right,
The numbers
we're not
are
buried with
easy
information.
to
okay.
see.
So we'll keep it short and sweet.
That's what we like.
So community-wise,
Yeah, it was not in your packet,
Oh.
Lee. It was something I
It's
just
on the
laid there
draft.
this morning.
Oh, okay.
got it?
No, but that's okay. I'll look at it.
I can share mine.
That's okay.
We'll share.
Okay. Community-wise, we did do National Night Out. That was the first year for us. We gave some information on WIC and then immunization, just summer safety. We figured we're trying to get more involved just with what the community and the courthouse does, even though we may be moving, but.
Yeah.
Then our office, EWIC is here, which they have the card now instead of all the vouchers. They don't have to separate their WIC groceries from everything else, and that has been a huge benefit. Little bumps getting started. We started September 5th, and it's been going really good since then. Carla and I did go to a couple businesses again, promoting WIC and breastfeeding. That was our focus in August, as it was National Breastfeeding Month. Now is September, we're getting all our transfer students, kindergarten to sixth graders. We have to follow up with all those kids to make sure they're adequately immunized. And then flu season is here now. We start our first flu clinic tomorrow. We're going to social services tomorrow. And then POD is the big thing this year, which will be October 26th. Spread the word, 2 to 7. And then just the fees. Our caseload is 628. That's been pretty consistent. We're in our region, we are the biggest WIC caseload. Any questions?
Yeah, is it too early for my flu shot?
No, it is not.
Now's the time to get it, right?
Now's the time. I got mine last Thursday.
I got mine scheduled for this afternoon, so I
Okay.
just was wondering if I was wasting my time.
No, get it done.
The location of the pod is,
The Extension Center?
okay.
That's what I was going to ask.
Okay.
Ask that question again. I don't think Don heard it, or Myron.
The location of the pod is going to be at the Extension Building Center from 2 to 7 p.m. on October 26th.
And that will be from 6 months through their 18 years.
And can you discuss normally the board authorizes all the county employees to come down for flu shots. Is that something you can discuss or not?
You've probably had more conversation with Jeannie and
With
Sarah
Jeannie,
than I
yeah,
have.
there's,
It's with the Sanford Health and us being a provider, and if you guys have met your copay, how much you have to pay. So
It may not, I think Jeannie was going to check with the state to see if we could go back to the old method of the employees coming down there, getting their shots, and then the nurse's office
Bill.
sending the bill to the county, but I haven't heard anything. And employees have been asking, if the county is going to pay for flu shots this year, or if they should just go out and get their own. So that's why I'm asking.
I can check and see if we can do that, what we call the roster billing for the
Right.
county employees, but then that would be up to you guys if you're going to pay for it.
Okay. Do we have any idea what the cost would be to the county?
Don't quote me, but I think the cost for the flu is like $45.99.
Okay.
You're
Which is
pretty
a-
precise for
For now.
Well, it's either $45.99 or $49.99. So
Okay.
I think
all
you're
right.
pretty close. I think we'll take your word for it.
Okay.
I think it's good. Anything else? Any other questions for
Yeah,
Ann?
since-
Go ahead, Lee.
I was just going to talk about the nurse's office space, what's going on with that a little bit. If you know anything else, please chime in.
Speak up.
No, just about the office space, since we're talking about that with
Okay.
with the whole
Right.
justice facilities and the new courtroom, and one of the key pieces of that is the nurse being willing to move out of the courthouse. And so right now, we've been looking at some rented office space. We've mentioned this before. I think there's an office furniture supplier looking at the space to see how that would work, if I understand what.
Right, the last I got is there's a gal, Bree, I think her name is going to contact me so she can get in there to do the layout.
Right, okay.
And that's, I'm kind of like the messenger of all this,
Yeah.
but that's the last message I received.
Okay, so and what that does, that allows some of a shuffling around of various offices within the courthouse so that we can free up what is now the equalization office, which is a nice big room, and make that into a secondary courtroom. So that's basically the bottom line. And so I appreciate the Department of Health and the nurse's office. Appreciate your willingness working with us as a county, so anyway.
Yeah, thank you, Ann, for doing
Yeah.
that. Appreciate it. Any other questions, comments? All right, thank you, Ann.
Thanks, Ann.
for coming up and explaining this to us. Just about as good as pictures, so. All right, action to approve claims for payment. And you have the handout in front of you. I'm just looking at how many vouchers I'm going to have to sign. 13 pages of it, the way it looks. Anything that jumps out at you?
There are a few claims out of the ordinary this month. First one is our second half appropriation to the South Dakota State Treasurer for the predatory animal
Which one is
program. It's on page 5, the middle of page 5. It's something that we budget for annually. This is our second half appropriation. On the bottom of page 7 is our fourth quarter appropriation for the community health nurse office located in the courthouse. And that's the contract for services that we signed with the state, who provides us with 2 community health nurses. That quarterly payment is $3,347.50. So we had a total, actually on page 12, it's also our third quarter payment to the Beacon Center, and that is for the marriage license fees, divorce fees, and birth certificate fees that are sold and collected through the county and the state. We pay that directly to the Beacon Center. So the total bills that we are paying is just over $1.6 million. Of that amount, just over $567,000 goes to the state of South Dakota for pass-through, leaving the county's bills at just over $1 million. And we actually have one county bill that is $790,000 plus, and that is to Dunick. And that is basically, the majority of that is for the asphalt paving on County Road 20-3. There were a few various other places where we had some patching done, but the majority of that $790,000 bill was to do the paving on 20-3.
Move to approve the claims.
Okay, a motion by Hatton, a second by Charlie Waterman. Any questions? Any more questions? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. And then we have action to approve the auditor's account with the treasurer, and that's also in your packet.
This is a report of the cash and cash items as of the last day of September. We're required by the state to go in and cash them out on the last day of each month. Shows you where our general ledger cash balances are in the bottom part of that sheet. General fund, special revenue fund, trust and agency funds. And there's a breakout there that shows how much we have to pay out to the schools, the townships, the city and the towns. You know, that is not our money. We collected them through property taxes. October, we'll see big numbers coming in this month because the deadline to pay your second half property tax is October 31st. And then we also have the Register of Deeds fees collected during the month of September in the amount of $30,281, and a portion of that also goes to the state of South Dakota.
Move to approve
Second.
auditor's account.
Motion by Hatton, second by Van Duzen. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, we, on item number 12, action to amend resolution 2017-20, budget resolution, and 2018 annual budget revenue line item per recommendation by the South Dakota Department of Revenue. And I think Cindy explained this a little bit. Now, she explained it to me, maybe the rest of you did, but there was some
There was the state,
discrepancy.
we had convention in September. I had one state agency telling me I could figure out my applied cash using one method. The Department of Revenue did not agree with that agency, so the three of us hashed it all out. And then also, the Department of Revenue noted that we could actually levy about $2,000 more in taxes than I was asking for because they're rounding things to one number instead of two like we've normally done. So it makes it does not change our levy that we had established, but it does change the dollar amount to $7,998,897. So I need to have you approve a new resolution. I have to have all of you sign it so I can send it to the Department of Revenue. And then we also have to note the change of cash applied due to how they feel it should be calculated. So the cash applied will be $3,155,470. Does not change our overall budget total at all. All of that remains the same. It's just the funding mechanism where the state requires us to give ourselves a 5% cushion in case our revenues would happen not to come in, which has never happened.
I'll make that motion that we amend that.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Van Dusen, second by Gable. Any discussion?
Just-
And that
Miss-
form is in your packet if you want to
Yeah, Mr.
look at a hard copy, and we'll get the original sent around to sign.
Mr. Chairman, just a quick
Yes.
question for the auditor. So you said can you state the amount of applied cash once again, just for?
Applied cash,
Yeah.
$3,155,470. And part of the reason that is up this year is because of the 1.3 that we're going to use from the the future building projects money. And then they are, so when I have to apply this less 5%, they're basically forcing us to add $651,000 to our cash applied, knowing that we aren't going to need it because we have that cash. So,
Okay, so that's making up for the 5% less that you levy
Right,
basically from the
right.
budget. Okay, and that
Yeah.
comes out of the unprogrammed
Correct.
surplus.
correct.
Okay.
In all reality, we will not need
Right,
that
I get it.
651,000,
Yeah, I
but
get it.
that's how they want us to balance our budget.
Okay.
All right, good question, Lee. Any others? Any other questions? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
So
Let's
don't
go.
let me forget to catch all of you before you leave today.
Number 13, action to authorize chair to sign a funding agreement with the U.S. Geological Survey for flood monitoring stations, and that information is in your packet. And that dollar amount is $9,466, and that's for monitoring the flood stations that we have in our county. And on one of those handouts, you'll find where they're located and the cost of each one, and where they're at, the Big Sioux River near Florence and the Big Sioux River near Watertown, Lake Kempesca water plant. There's a number of them there. And then it also has the cost for each one of them. And I guess
And it also shows you the entities who contribute to the annual cost.
Make
City of
a-
Watertown, Cottington County, the Lake Kempesca Water Project District, the DENR, et cetera.
Make a motion to
Motion by
for the
Hatton.
chairman to sign.
second by Gable. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman, just how does this, is this the same amount as last year? The,
I could not tell you for sure. I would have to
I
look that
don't
up.
Seems
It's
like it's close.
comparable.
seems like it was close.
Yep, it's
Yeah.
comparable. It has not gone up very much.
the reason that I am very familiar with these, I have two of these right close to my place out there, and so every now and then when I see them out there, I'll stop, visit with them, and bother them, I suppose, is what I'm doing. But to see what they're doing and how they're doing it, and just they watch the water flow, and of course it starts up in the South Shore Hills, and everything comes this direction from there.
So Cindy, the combined total on this is $16,835, is that correct?
Yeah.
Well, we only pay a portion of it.
It was on the first page.
9,466 is the county's portion. I was just going to look up and see what we actually did budget for this year. If you just give me a minute, I can get you that.
And we do have it in the budget.
Yeah.
Correct. I mean, we have budgeted this for a number of years, so.
Mr. Chairman, do they have a office in the region here? I see Rapid City, Bismarck.
I do know,
Where do they come out of when they monitor this?
you know, I don't know where they come out of, but I do know if you go on the United States Department of Interior Geological Survey, which I have done on just Google it in, that information comes up, and like during heavy rains or flooding or whatever, spring runoff especially, I have it on my computer and I watch it, and because it monitors the flow, and it kind of gives the people at Lake Compesca an idea what they got coming their direction. So,
We used that during the flood, the big flood that we had here in
yeah.
'97.
And it's
So this electronic monitoring, they once in a while check
Yeah.
the boxes.
Yep. It's those, if you see by the river bridge, you see those boxes. That's what it is.
Okay, I thought it was electronic, but
And then it's electronic. Yeah.
then when I was listening to you and you said you stopped and talked to
Oh,
them.
I stopped and visited. Well, I imagine they're there just checking their electronics or whatever, changing batteries or whatever they need to do. I think they're mostly solar operated. But the website is it's a good website. It's and easy to understand, easy to read. So I use it probably every spring for sure.
We actually spent a little over $11,000 this year, but that is because we changed the funding period to match our budget year.
Sure.
Before they had it from October through September, and for our budget year, I asked them to change that to January through December. So originally, we had budgeted $9,500.
So we're right on.
Yeah.
All right. We have a motion, a second on the floor. Any more discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. The next item, number 14, is approve resolution 2017-23 to cancel unclaimed checks and warrants. And you have a listing of those in your packet. The total amount is $426.77. Cindy, would you like to?
Actually, we were able to lower that amount because one of the names on the original list was a county employee who had not cashed his cell phone stipend. So we contacted him on Friday and got him paid. So it's lowered to $401.77. This is something the state requires us to do annually.
What's that new number?
401.77.
All right, 40177.
This is something the state requires us to do annually.
Cindy, I'm aware of one name on this list. It's not a huge amount.
If you want to go talk to the treasurer, you can certainly do that. They try, before they make this list, they try and contact as many people as possible to make sure that,
Well, I was just given an updated address to the one person on the list.
I would
last
go and
week.
talk to the treasurer before you leave today and see if they can,
But-
maybe it's too late since we're at this point, but
In lieu of that, I'll entertain a motion.
And make that motion?
We have a motion by
Second.
Hanton, a second by Van Duzen. Any more discussion?
Once these are sent into the state, can't these people then go through the process to
yeah,
get
then
it
they
back
can
from the
reclaim
state?
it through the state of South Dakota's unclaimed property, correct?
So it's not totally lost. They can reclaim it. You heard the motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right. Now, number 15, discussion and action regarding employee health insurance renewal quote and discussion with local agents. We just wanted to see their pretty faces is what we really wanted to see. We just felt with the health insurance, if you just share with us Maybe there'll be some questions, but basically what, if any changes there are from last year. I think that's, as far as our employees go, as far as me and my health insurance, when I sit down with an insurance agency, I say, what's going to be different? What are the changes, or are there any changes? So, please introduce yourself so the press will know who you are. And
Tammy Gerhardt, account.
It's on. It's on.
Tammy Gerhardt, account executive with Sanford Health Plan.
And Ray Krantz.
I'm Stacy Hackett with Great Plains Brokerage. We're the marketing arm for Sanford Health Plan.
I just want to thank you again for letting us come in and show you. I was very happy with the 7.15% increase, the way things are going right now with the health insurance world. I hate to say that, especially considering how low the prices are to start. So I just wanted to show you a little bit. On the right side of the packet, what it is, it just shows what the renewal rates are and that it did go up 7.15% compared to last year. Well, what I wanted to do is go through quickly on the left side and just show you what the rate history for Cudahy County has been. So what I've got, was able to get was from 2013 through 2018, and just look at the rates. So
Ray, I'm not following you. I have the right packet.
You gotta look at his.
This one.
yeah, you got the
the
wrong
new one.
one.
Okay.
I got the wrong one?
Yeah.
You want the blue, this one?
That's good, because I just thought maybe I'm just really lost. And that wouldn't be hard to do.
Okay.
There you go. All right.
On the left side over there,
Oh, thank you.
it shows the Cudahy County Health Insurance rate history. Now, this is to the best of my knowledge by looking it up on your minutes, basically, to try and figure it out. But I believe your rate in 2013 with Blue Cross was 605 and the family rate was 1494. We're still 6 years later below that rate for a comparable plan. So,
And that includes our premium increase, correct?
yes, that's
Okay.
the 2018 rate increase. So actually, if you look at it, like number one says, we're still lower than the 2013 premiums. We're actually 18.3% below the 2015 premiums. And I looked it up to see what your rates would be if you were buying an individual plan, and you'd have to be under 30 years old to get the rates you've got for an individual plan on an average. So very good rates. I've been very happy with it as far as what we were able to get. The second part goes into the filed rate history for small groups, and just to show you why I thought 7.15 is pretty nice, because the trend is a little bit above that. Sanford's actual trend is the 7.15, and that's what they gave you. But if you look through, now I can't get large group because it's not filed, or at least I wasn't able to get it. But I just did all the small groups and how they were filed with the state for the last 4 years. And if you'd like to take a look through, the average for all three companies for the last 3 years is 8.82%. So, and that's group insurance has been more stable than the individual rates have been. So, both Tammy and Stacy came just to talk to you a little bit about the benefits of Sanford, and if you don't mind, I'll let them talk. So.
I'm going to start. What you have in front of you, if you look at the Sanford Health Plan packets, the white packets. So what we've put in here for you, some of the things, when I came last time to visit and had a service meeting, we chatted a little bit. On the right-hand side, you'll see that you have a brochure, the right care at the right time. So this is just a new marketing materials that we've got in place. This is when to use the ER versus urgent care, and something that your members can use to make sure that they're using the appropriate care at the appropriate time. The next item is the fitness center reimbursement. This is again where a covered individual, covered member, and their covered spouse, if they visit the gym 12 times per month, they get $20 to a maximum of $40 for the husband and spouse. The next item is something new that is going to be available for Cottington County eligible members that have the health insurance, and that is the Advantage discount card. What that is, all members, as they're enrolled in the health insurance, will get this automatically, and it is truly a discount card. So it services of dental, vision, hearing, and then weight loss programs. You just present the card to the provider at that time, and you receive a discounted price on the services. In order to find the providers that are participating in the program, there's a website there, and that's listed on the brochure as well. And that's new, effective January 1st of 2018 to anybody that enrolls in the health insurance. The last item on the right-hand side is the e-visits and the video visits. Those are available at $0 copay if you're using Sanford Health Providers. I talked about this a little bit last time too. So I think what you're going to see from Sanford Health Plan in 2018 is a lot of education, improvement in education, little snippets of videos, etc., and how to do a video visit or an e-visit, and that's accessed off of my Sanford chart. So you do need to be a patient of Sanford Health and access it through my chart.
Okay, a little bit on the left-hand side. we did bring a little fun something for you. And maybe if you have any kids, if you didn't know what this was, it's a pop socket. It goes on the back of your cell phone. It's kind of a gizmo. That's something for you. My kid knew more about that than I did when I first got it, so you might get it at home. Yes.
Like gizmo.
Yes.
So it looks kind of like this one
It
on the
is.
back of my cell
See,
phone.
he's really trendy.
That's a black
It'll
gizmo.
just pop out like
Yes, that's right.
It helps your alacrity.
So it don't fall out of your hand?
Yeah.
I have checked, the second sheet behind that is corporate wellness. This is something currently right now that I don't think that your company is utilizing. And we just want to match your level of interest if this is something moving forward that you want to do. So there are a number of things that kind of fall under this platform. Anything from doing a biometric screen, so being a fully insured client with Sanford, this is something that we do and we pay for, that's included as a value add, that is not an additional fee that you have. So we can do in addition to, I know that you have a, with your county health nurse that Sanford would partner with, that we would come out and do this for the employees here, where they do a finger prick, do your cholesterol screen, height, weight, kind of have a discussion about a health risk assessment for all of your employees, and that's paid for at 100% with Sanford. So what they do is they come out and pick a day, or maybe a couple times that we would come out and say, in November, this is a day, or whatever it might be, that might work for your employees, to come out and kind of have a fair and bring all of your employees out to have those services done. Some of the other things, and it's kind of listed on the front and back of this, it could be education, where we have worksite wellness staff that come out and talk about how could we lower stress in your worksite, how do we keep people on your job site to come to work every day. We all know that that's in our environment with the low unemployment rate, that it's hard to get key employees to come to work every day and be, that's one of the number one things that we hear from our employers is it's hard to get people with the low unemployment, good employees that come to work. So just kind of trying to find some things that can help lower stress and keep them at work. Also it could be anything from a exercise challenge to vending machines to working with your staff about management type classes, things like that. So anything that you see on here that you might be interested in, please let us know. This is something that we could partner with you to bring to your company. The second one behind that is the My Sanford Health Plan, and this just really gives your employees access to looking at their deductibles, their insurance, just information about how to go on there to do it. Of course, you can always contact our Member Services Department, which is on the back of their ID card. But it's just another tool for them to use when they're at home. Kind of a couple extra things, and it's all kind of just educational pieces. Some things they might already know, but if they didn't, just educational things for them to have. We appreciate your business. Thank you for partnering with Sanford. We're glad that you're with us. We want to make this an easy transition. Ree's done such a good job on that, so anything we can do to help you.
I have just a couple more things, or one main thing, I guess. One thing I wanted to point out to you, because one thing I was trying to get the group to do was increase their family memberships. And if you look on there, it says 74 singles and 6 families underneath the first option. The second option has 4 families on it and no singles, and the third option has 6 families on it. So we are now up to 16 families, which it helps your pension, it helps the whole group's renewal increases to be a lot lower when you can get more families on it. So it's a very good point, and I think you've done a great job by allowing the families to take these options. So if you have any questions, we'd be glad to.
There you go. Any commissioners have any questions for these insurance gurus?
I guess I'm glad to see that we do have more families that are able to utilize the insurance, because typically in the past that wasn't affordable and the rates were not. So this is a
I
good.
believe there was one family.
Could have been 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very minimal.
I had a question in reference to, I believe it was when you were talking, and I didn't want to interrupt, but something about eyewear, eyeglasses or glasses, or vision. All right, do we get a card or anything, to show the clinic, the eye?
Yes. So on the right-hand side of that packet, it's the Advantage discount. So right behind the fitness center, looks like maybe your packet was missing that information. Sorry about
The reason
that.
I'm asking is this afternoon I've got an eye appointment.
This is
So-
effective
It's
on
not till
1/1/2018.
January.
So this is going to be effective for your group January 1st.
Okay.
But if you are enrolled and eligible into the health insurance, you'll get this card automatically mailed to your home address, and you can then use that for discounted services.
But I'm not, because I'm a commissioner. We don't have that privilege.
One other thing that I wanted to address, just in listening, is the flu shots. So flu shots is 100% preventive under your health plan at $0 cost to those eligible, to those enrolled in the health insurance. So I just wanted to make sure.
So if
that-
they went to their own physician or their own clinic, okay,
Absolutely.
okay,
Yes, that would be $0 cost to them because it is considered preventive.
okay.
The county health nurse is or is not in that.
They are not
They're not
in the
network.
in the network.
Yeah.
Yep, that was the problem
Yeah,
this year.
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it changed or not
Yeah.
since then.
Yep.
How do you go about, or how do they determine, how could we ever get them added to that list?
In the network?
Yeah.
It'd be through the state. I mean, they're a state office, so you would have to work with the state, I would guess.
I can ask some questions about that. I will take that back and talk to provider relations about that at Sanford. Yes, because otherwise they would have to go to a clinic to get that paid for.
Yeah, it makes it
That's a good
a little more
question.
convenient, if we're able to utilize the health nurse right in. And I'm sure there's other counties that probably have that same issue.
I will ask about that. Good question.
Thanks.
Stacy's the expert. Well, both of them are, but Stacy's been, you've been with the Sanford Health Plans for as long as I remember. So. Yeah, and Sanford hasn't been around that many years, so it's kind of.
Well, they started at 89.
89. Okay, it's more years than I thought. So. She does a great job. They both do. So.
Well, I'm getting all my fall work done now. So this afternoon, I'm going to have my eyes tested, and I have an appointment to get my flu shot. So getting all geared up for the winter now.
That's good.
And I just go to the clinic and have the flu shot.
One other thing, the nurses did forward to me are the hours for Sanford Clinic flu clinics
They're
or whatever they
walk-in.
are. So I do have those that I can forward on to employees.
That'd be good.
Any more questions? Well, thank you, Ray, for bringing your team in and answering these questions or explaining some new programs. We appreciate that very
Thank you
much.
again. We really appreciate it. If there are any questions, contact me at the office.
And at this point in time, and I know Cindy, I suppose, would take the bulk of them, but I have not heard any of our employees complaining about the insurance coverage that we have had with you in the past, and we just appreciate you being in town, and we can get a hold of you when we want to wring your neck or
Well,
whatever.
Ray and his staff come in once a month and sit in here to be available for any employees who do have questions.
We appreciate
So,
that.
yeah.
That's good service.
If they're not coming in, it's their own fault.
Right. And thank you.
Thanks, Ray.
Yes, and thank you also for coming and sharing the new updates that will be coming in 2018.
Ray, does Cindy have coffee for you when she come in?
They bring their own drinks.
Oh, they bring their own?
They bring their own drinks. They drinking water, yeah, they're bringing it with them.
You don't trust us, huh?
Thank you.
Yep, thanks, Ray.
Thank you, Ray. Have a good day. All right, let's go on then to 16, action to approve automatic budget supplements.
We have none other than the one we did with the state's attorney's office.
Okay,
that's-
and action to approve personnel changes.
And I did not have any personnel changes either.
We do have a travel request in here, though, I know.
Yes, this is for the Emergency Management Office, the secretary to attend CRMCS training in Pierre. It is an overnight trip. She will be using a county vehicle.
Move to approve that travel
Motion
request.
by Hatton, second by Charlie Waterman. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. How about any old business for the cause this morning?
Mr. Chairman, just
Yes.
real quick. Tonight is the next CCJAC, County Justice Advisory Committee meeting. So we're going to kind of continue the discussion, mostly about what we're talking about when the nurse was here, the establishment of a second jury courtroom and using the equalization office. So we have a draft agreement from BKB Architects that we'll be looking at. I gave you before the cost estimate, but we'll be looking at that in a little bit more detail this evening. And that meeting is at 6:10 tonight at LATI in room 430. So
I have a couple items. I received an email just
What day is that on, Lee?
today.
tonight.
Okay, tonight.
Yeah.
I received an email from Eric from ICAP that the fence has been completed at the Head Start building, so just an update on that.
I saw that, and it looks really nice.
Smart looking
Final.
fence.
Yeah, it looks
Oh,
really
good.
good.
And also, I did check with out at the extension, and we are able to get the meeting room and the classrooms for November 8th for our Sioux Valley Commissioner meeting, so we're locked in there.
Do you want to contact Susie over at First
Yes,
District
I
and
need
set
to
up an
stop by,
agenda and
so,
let her
yes.
know what the meal?
Yeah, I need to check with you on
Rate.
the amounts so that I can go around and get quotes.
Well, it's actually, it varies. I don't know that if you have a limit. I know that it seldom goes over $12. Maybe contact the places you're thinking of and ask what they can provide for that.
For 12, is that what we have been paying lately now to the different?
It jumps between 10 and 12.
Okay,
So
I can just say
But I
10 to
don't
12.
think there's any limit that we are set to.
All right, well, I'll check the different venues and just say
Okay.
$12 as a price and see
Yeah.
what they come up with, and then we can decide. Okay, we'll do that.
Any other old business? How about new business? Any new business? Any new business?
You're all aware we had a deputy injured over the weekend?
Yeah.
Everybody see that? Okay.
How about for the open?
For the open, there could be a quorum of commissioners at Government Affairs tomorrow morning at 7:30. I've got so many things. Clark Engineering is having chamber after 4 on Thursday from 4 to 7.
And where's that at?
That's at the Clark Engineering.
At what?
Clark Engineering.
Yep.
There is the Tim Lightfield benefit this weekend, Friday and Saturday night at Dempsey's. Maybe there could be a quorum of us there. I have something, the event center at 2 o'clock on Saturday. I didn't write down what it was. And I guess planning and zoning will be Monday morning at 8:30 a.m., change the time. They generally mention that on the agenda, but just in case, I will mention that as well. So, that is all that I have. as far as a quorum of commissioners, unless someone else has anything else.
The only thing I have is, Sarah stopped in here, and there was a young individual that was, I believe, shot out in Rapid City. Did you read the news or something like that? And it's the grandson of the commissioner from out there. And,
Clint Farley.
what?
Clint Farley
Clint
is
Farley.
the commissioner.
And it's his grandson.
He's usually the one who tells us our colorful jokes at the end of our
Yeah, anyway, she thought maybe we would want to know that if we'd want to send a card or something, and that's all I have. Anything else? Anyone else? Any exec session? Terry, anything come up? No exec session required?
Is Steve here for?
Steve?
Okay.
All right.
I'd make a motion that we
We have a
adjourn
motion
then.
to adjourn by Hatton, a second by Lee. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.
I'm going to pass around the resolution that I have to have you all sign.